Hare Krishna. Welcome back to the Mahabharata character series. Today we are now going to discuss about the fall of Bhishma. We discussed till the 9th day when this event that is depicted in the picture behind, Krishna charging with the upraised wheel towards Bhishma, that event happened. And then Arjuna took a vow. He says, I take a vow based on the name of my brothers and my sons that I will slay Bhishma tomorrow. Krishna, please do not break your words. And then Krishna became calm. And then that evening, in both the camps, the Kaurava camp as well as the Pandu camp, the main talk was about what Krishna had done, how he had come to the rescue of the devotees. And in the Pandu camp, Yudhishthir was on one level definitely grateful that Krishna had intervened and stopped Bhishma from destroying their whole army. At the same time, he was also in anxiety. He said to Krishna, "Oh Krishna, the grandsire is unstoppable. How can we ever counter him?" He said, it may be possible to stop Varuna with his noose, it may be able to stop Yamaraj with his mace, it may be able to stop Indra with his thunderbolt. But I don't think it is possible to stop Bhishma. How can we ever win this war if we are not able to stop Bhishma? When Yudhishthira expressed his anxiety in this way, Krishna put his hand on Yudhishthira's shoulders and solaced him. And he said, "O king, I am forever your servant. Just order me and I will personally slay Bhishma. Indeed, I will slay the whole Kaurava army and hand over the kingdom to you tomorrow itself." Hearing this proclamation from Krishna, the Pandavas' spirits lifted. At the same time, they knew that what Krishna was saying, they would never allow. Because they could not consider even the possibility that Krishna would be disgraced for their sake, that Krishna would break his word and thereby he would become disgraced, all for their sake. They did not want that to happen. Krishna, understanding their mind, said further, "But Arjuna has taken a vow to slay Bhishma. I think he should keep his vow." So Krishna is so sensitive, he is not telling that I have got my vow and how can I break my vow for your sake. He is saying, no, Arjuna has given his word, so he should keep his word. And then he said further, Shikhandi, there is also the prophecy regarding Shikhandi that he will be the cause of the death of Bhishma. Therefore, he will also be somehow involved. We just have to work out the strategy. Yudhishthir, he looked on at Krishna and then Krishna said, actually, Arjuna is my friend, he is my relative and he is my disciple. Disciple because he heard the Bhagavad Gita just before the war started. So he said, for him I will cut my own flesh and give. I can do anything. But still I feel that he should act to preserve his word. So Yudhishthir looked at Krishna and said, yes, certainly, O Krishna. There is no question of your raising weapons. And Arjuna and Shikhandi should be involved in the death of Bhishma. But how will it happen? So Krishna reminded Yudhishthir, before the war started, you had gone to Bhishma and had asked him how he could be felled. And he had told, come to him at a later time. He said, there is no way he can be felled unless he reveals the strategy. So today is the time. Please go to him. We all will go to him. So Yudhishthira agreed. And all the five Pandavas, along with Krishna, went on that ninth day of the battle night, to the camp of the Kauravas. And because both the parties were following the codes of Kshatriya warfare, so they would often go from one side to the other side without any threat, without perceiving any threat. And they would be received cordially, even respectfully, befit their status as kings. And then they would talk cordially and they would arrive at amicable conclusion of whatever discussions they were having, and they would go back and next day they would fight again. So the Kshatriya warfare was not just somehow or the other win the war and enjoy the spoils of power or the loots. It was a test of skills, and both wanted to fight. Both sides wanted to fight and show how they were in terms of military skills better, and because they were better, they were victorious. So it's something like sports. In sports, both teams want to win, but still there is the spirit of sportsmanship, where the teams want to play fair, play hard, and play to win. So they want to play according to the rules, and it's not that the players are enemies of each other. Sometimes some fans may get some special twist if there is a special pleasure if there is a rivalry between two soldiers or two players. And there are many famous rivalries between some batsman and some bowler, or some two players in tennis, or some two players in football, and these add special flavor to the excitement in sports. But it's not that these two competitors generally in sports are enemies who want to kill each other. No, they may want to defeat each other, uh, and desperately want to be the victorious on the war, but it's not that they are going to come to each other's throats. So there is some spirit of sports also that is there. So like that, there is a spirit of Kshatriya warfare also. And the Pandavas were safely and respectfully escorted to Bhishma's tent. And when Bhishma saw them, he welcomed them. His face lit up, especially on seeing Krishna and his beloved grandsons, the Pandavas. He welcomed them and offered them a seat, and all the Pandavas offered obeisances to him. And then, "O king, what can I do for you?" he asked Yudhishthir. And Yudhishthir felt as if his heart was breaking. He had asked this question once before the war started, and he now asked again. He said, "O grandsire, with you standing at the helm of our enemy forces, there is no chance for us to win. Therefore, as per your words, we have come to you again to ask how we can defeat you." So Bhishma agreed. And he said that yes, as long as I have raised my arms, nobody will be able to defeat me. He said, "But I will never fight unfairly. I will never fight against one who is unarmed, one whose arms have been shattered, one who has only one son, one who is a woman, or one who bears the name of a woman." And like that, although he was such a fierce warrior, he was also a principled warrior. And he stuck to his principles. So he looked at the Pandavas, and the way they were looking at him with such affection, with such reverence, his heart went out to them. And if only the Kauravas were like this, then there would have been no need for this terrible war. But unfortunately, they were not. They were just the opposite of the cultured, gentle, virtuous Pandavas. And he said, "If Shikhandi shoots arrows at me, then I will not counterattack, because I consider him to be a woman, the woman that he was in his previous life. And let Shikhandi attack me from the front, and because I will not shoot arrows at him, he will be able to attack me continuously, and let Arjuna be behind him. And let Arjuna shoot arrows from behind Shikhandi. And in this way, you will be able to bring me down. Only after you bring me down will you be able to attain victory in the war." So the Pandavas nodded their heads gravely, offered their respects to Bhishma, and left. And as they were leaving, Arjuna started talking with Krishna, and he said, "Oh Krishna, when I was a small child, I would come home after playing, and Bhishma would be sitting on a throne. And I would run up to him and climb on his throne and soil his clothes with my dirty feet. And I would say, playing with his beard, I would say, 'Father, Father.' And he would ruffle my hair and caress my back. And he would smile and he'd say, 'Oh child, I am not your father. I am your father's father.'" He said, "That was the grandsire who loved me so much. How can I ever kill him?" There were practically tears in the eyes of Arjuna as he spoke this, reminiscing the sweet old times with his beloved grandfather. Krishna's voice, however, was stern. His demeanor was grave. And he told Arjuna, "Oh Arjuna, this is not the time for sentimentality. You have a duty to do. In fact, not only do you have a duty to do, you have a promise to keep. The duty is what we are obliged. There are certain social conventions and there are certain social relationships in which we are expected to do certain things. So duty is also important too. But over and above the duty that you have to do, you yourself taken a promise to slay Bhishma. How can you abandon your duty and let your promise be falsified? Remember that for a Kshatriya, killing, performing sacrifices and ruling virtuously, and for that sake punishing the wrongdoers also. All these are to be done as duties. That's what the scriptures ordain, and all these should be done without maliciousness. So without maliciousness, Krishna told Arjuna to emphasize the point that it is not that when Kshatriya is fighting with another, the Kshatriyas have to hate each other. So Arjuna would still be loving Bhishma, but as a duty he would have to fight. And he told that in the ancient times, Brihaspati has said that even if a relative, even if that person be an elderly relative, a venerable elder comes to one with a attacking intention to kill, then one should not hesitate to fight against him and kill him. In fact, anyone who comes with a intention to destroy, whatever be the relationship of that person can be killed. And now the grandsire has sided on the side of evil, and therefore it is your duty to kill him. So as Krishna's firm words calmed Arjuna, and Sanjaya had his mystic vision by which he could see whatever was happening in the war field. So therefore he told Dhritarashtra, and when Dhritarashtra heard this, that Bhishma had told how he could be killed, he cried out in sorrow and dismay. He said, "Oh, alas, alas, alas! Why has the grandsire told about how he can be killed? How could telling such a thing be his duty? Oh, now we are ruined. How will my sons ever survive, come out living outside of this battle if Bhishma dies?" And he started lamenting loudly, with his blind eyes his head moving here and there, unable to see anything, hoping against hope. Dhritarashtra was in the predicament. He hoped that somehow he would win, although he knew that he could not win. And Sanjay looked around the court, and there was the throne on which Bhishma had always sat. And he knew that throne would never be graced by the magnificent form of Bhishma ever again. On the 10th day, the war started, with the Pandavas placing Shikhandi right at the forefront of their formation. And Bhima and Arjuna protected him on his two flanks, his two sides. On the opposite side, Bhishma was at the head of the Kaurava formation. And Duryodhana, knowing the danger to Bhishma, knowing that the Pandavas would be targeting Bhishma, arranged for Dushasana especially to be the protector of Bhishma. And along with Dushasana, several other warriors were told, be at the side of Bhishma, available for his protection. And Arjuna urged Shikhandi to not spare, to charge towards Bhishma. And Shikhandi bellowed out a challenge to Bhishma and started shooting arrows. Bhishma turned disdainfully towards Shikhandi. He said, "Oh Shikhandi, you are to me the same person that the Creator had made you in the past. You are by no means equal to me, and I will not fight with you." Shikhandi felt infuriated. Every Kshatriya wants to fight and exhibit the prowess. So he felt infuriated and he said, "You are a wretched sinner. You watched passively while Draupadi was being disrobed, and for that you deserve to die. Take a last look at the world, for today my arrows will shoot and kill you." So, seeing Shikhandi attacking Bhishma and Bhishma not retaliating at all, Bhishma was engaging with other warriors. So several other Kaurava warriors came to the side of Bhishma and they challenged Shikhandi. And as Shikhandi was drawn aside, Bhishma went to the other side. And then Arjuna and Bhima, they fell with a maniac fury on the Kaurava warriors who had come to assist Bhishma. And the Kaurava army started breaking and fleeing. And as they were terrorized, Bhishma was elsewhere fighting fiercely. Bhishma knew this was probably going to be his last day. And as a Kshatriya, he would not go down passively. He decided to make one final and supreme effort. And as he fought fiercely, the Pandavas watched on in amazement, admiration and dismay to see his extraordinary prowess. So Bhishma was wreaking havoc on one side of the battlefield. Arjuna and Bhima were wreaking havoc on the other side. Eventually several other warriors came and fought and engaged Bhishma. While Bhima and Arjuna They were destroying other warriors who were trying to stop them from reaching Bhishma. Duryodhana, seeing his army getting the worst of the confrontation, went over to Bhishma and he said, "Oh grandsire, I cannot believe that the Pandavas can destroy my army like this while you are in charge. Please do not let me down like this. Please fight to the fullest of your prowess and protect me. I have come to you for your shelter." So Duryodhana, when the Bhishma would give him advice, he would never take advice. But now he was seeking shelter. He would do whatever was needed to satisfy his hunger for power. So Bhishma raised his hand in silent assent, and he said, I had taken a vow that I would unrelentingly slaughter 10,000 warriors every day. I have kept that vow. Listen now, I take as a final vow. Today, I will kill either one of the Pandavas or I will die myself. And saying this, Bhishma charged away. And as Bhishma charged away into the enemy ranks, breaking them apart, Arjuna with Shikhandi came towards him. And as Arjuna and Shikhandi charged towards Bhishma, Dushasana intervened. And Dushasana fought fiercely to protect Bhishma. But Arjuna's attack was so severe. Arjuna was far more skilled archer than Dushasana. And Dushasana's chariot was shattered, his charioteer was killed, his horses were killed, his armor was shattered, and he had to flee from his chariot, and he ran on to the chariot of Bhishma. So the person whom he was to protect became his protector. And Bhishma, using his formidable prowess, checked Arjuna for some time. And then Dushasana went and retreated, recovered, got another chariot and charioteer and horses and returned to the fray. On the other side, on another side part of the battlefield, Drona was fighting. And Drona looked at the sky. Ashwatthama was fighting close to him. And Drona turned to Ashwatthama and said, "Can you see in the sky all the auspicious omens?" And he looked at and he pointed out the various omens that were there. He says, this indicates that today the grandsire will fall. Oh son, this is not the time when dependents should think of their own lives and their own well-being. They should do whatever is required for repaying their debt to their elders. Go forthwith to the side of Bhishma and assist him. So Ashwatthama ran towards Bhishma's side, charging on his chariot. And seeing Ashwatthama coming, several Kaurava warriors joined him, and they all checked the marauding onslaught of the Pandava warriors. And the Pandavas, see Arjuna and Shikhandi, when they were checked, Bhima came to the assistance. Abhimanyu came, Pandu's sons came, and a fierce fight broke apart. And finally, the Kaurava warriors were repulsed, and Arjuna charged forwards, unrelentingly pressing on towards Bhishma. Dushasana came again, and again he fought fiercely, trying his best to stop Arjuna from reaching Bhishma. But he was no match, and again he was routed, and he fled. This time he ran away with his chariot ruined. And finally Arjuna and Shikhandi came towards Bhishma. And Arjuna and Shikhandi started shooting arrows after arrow after. Shikhandi was ahead and he was shooting arrows. And from behind Arjuna was shooting arrows. And because Bhishma was not ready to attack Shikhandi, so he was just neglecting the attack from that side. And because from that same side Arjuna's arrows were also coming, so he was not countering those arrows also. And eventually his body became filled with arrows on all sides. And as he was fighting, he looked up and he saw something, a sight which nobody else in the war field could see. He saw celestial beings, he saw the Vasus, he saw the sages, and they told him, "Oh Bhishma, now your time for fighting has come to an end. Desist from war, lay down your weapons. Enough is enough." Bhishma looked at this void, he knew the time was there. He looked and he saw Krishna on the other side, taking care of Arjuna's chariot. Vijay Ratatotre. And he was the charioteer of Vijay. So he knew that as long as Krishna was on the opposite side, there was no hope for him to win. And he decided to lay down his bow. As he was lost in deep thought, Arjuna shot severely, 100 arrows at him. And jolted by those arrows, Bhishma decided to raise his weapon. And he said this, "I'll fight one last time." He started fighting fiercely. And although Arjuna and Shikhandi had driven away all the Kauravas. And they were fiercely attacking Bhishma. Bhishma held them and started wounding other Pandavas also. And Dushasana again came to assist Bhishma. And Bhishma called out to Dushasana and he said, "Oh Arjun, oh Dushasan, I can feel the arrows hitting me. And best by the impact of the arrows, I can make out which are the arrows of Arjuna and which are the arrows of Shikhandi. Shikhandi's arrows cannot harm me, but Arjuna's arrows are falling upon me like thunderbolt. They have the power of the Vajra of Indra or the rod of a Brahmin. A Brahmin doesn't have martial power, but a Brahmin has higher power, spiritual power, whereas a Brahmin can destroy a person by cursing. Or Brahmins have their own rod which they touch that can destroy. And he says that like poisonous snakes biting into my body and sucking away my strength, these arrows are sucking away my strength. Oh Dushasana, fight on, for now I have come to the end of my time. And as the Kaurava warriors watched on, Bhishma was attacked again and again, and eventually no place on his body was left not covered with arrows. One could not put two fingers in between two arrows, so densely was his body covered by arrows. And in front of the incredulous eyes of the Kaurava warriors, as Arjuna's arrows kept hitting, Bhishma fell from his chariot. And he fell on the ground, but he did not fall on the ground, because the arrows had pierced to his body and they had stuck in his body. So his flesh was so strong that the arrows just didn't pierce entirely. They did not go clean through. They stuck in his flesh. And he fell on the arrow bed. And as he fell on the arrow bed, the celestial voice cried out, "Oh, how is it that this great soul will die at a time when it is Dakshinayan?" There is the consideration that when the person is to die, if the person dies at an auspicious time, it is considered it is good. If the person dies at an inauspicious time, then that indicates the person may have an inauspicious destination. So in the Bhagavad Gita 8th chapter, Krishna says dying during the Uttarayan time is good, when the sun is on the northern side, and when it's on the southern side, then it is not a good time to die. So as Bhishma fell, he was so expert that even when he was falling, he maneuvered himself in such a way that he fell with his head pointing towards the east. That is considered an auspicious direction. And Bhishma said, "I have not yet died, and I will not die till the right time comes." Bhishma was such a great devotee that whenever he could have died, whenever he would have died, he would have attained the supreme perfection of life. But Bhishma wanted to demonstrate that one who devotes oneself to the Lord is not deprived of anything. That such a person gets the results, whatever are ordained, for those who do dharmic activities. Vedeshu yajneshu tapahasu chaiva daneshu yat punyaphalam pradishtam atyeti tat sarvamidim viditva yogi param sthanam upaiti chadyam. So Vedeshu yajneshu tapahasu chaiva. So what all these rituals are there? This is the last verse of the 8th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says that whatever are the results of the various religious rituals and other various practices, those results the yogi will get, and beyond that the yogi will get the supreme destination. And Krishna says the best among all the yogis is the bhakti yogi. That he says, was already told in the 6th chapter of the Gita. So Bhishma was such a bhakti yogi, and he wanted to demonstrate what has been taught in the scriptures, what had been taught by Krishna just before the Bhagavad Gita, that the devotee is not bereaved, is not deprived of the results that are given to those who practice the other paths successfully. So he had the power of Ichha Mrityu. So, and by Ichha Mrityu means choosing the moment of death. And by that power he chose that he would not die till an auspicious time came. And he decided to lie in that same situation on the arrow bed without shedding his body. And as the news spread on the Kaurava side, Kaurava soldiers were stunned. Some of them just tears started crying out of their eyes. Some of them froze, some of them panicked and fled, some of them swooned. And Duryodhana got off his chariot and ran shamefaced by the side of Bhishma. So it was his fault, it was his greed that the war, because of which the war had taken place, and because he had not been able to protect. So now his grandsire was dying. He Despite all his greed, still he had affection for his grandfather. And the news reached Drona. And although he had spoken about this, still, when the news came to him, it was such an impossible news that Drona swooned. And the hostilities were called off for the day. And all the warriors came by the side of Bhishma to offer respects to him, to circumambulate him. And when Bhishma fell on the Kaurava side, on the Pandava side, Bhima started dancing. Yes, now we will win. Bhishma has fallen. Arjuna, however, remained sober. And he told Krishna to take his chariot towards Bhishma. And he got off the chariot and he went and folded his hands and offered obeisances to Bhishma, offered his respects. So at that time, Duryodhana had ordered physicians to come. So Brahmins, expert in the application of herbs as well as the chanting of mantras, came there. So both could be used to heal the body. Some mystical mantras as well as some healing herbs. So Bhishma was fallen and he could not move his hands also. He could not move any part of his body practically. But still he spoke to Duryodhana with whatever strength he had. He said, I will no longer take any treatment, he says. My time is over in this world. I just want to wait till the time is right for me to depart. So he says, after honoring these venerable Brahmins and after rewarding them properly, please ask them to leave. I will not need any of their medicines. Arjuna folded his hands and asked the grandsire if he could do anything for him. So he says, oh Arjuna, just see how my head is hanging. So his whole body had been pierced by arrows and his head was hanging. So he said, please provide me a bed, provide me a pillow that is worthy of a warrior. Arjuna understood the import of what Bhishma was saying. And he shot arrows right under where Bhishma was. And those arrows became upright right under his head. And they became a pillow for him. And the Kauravas and the Pandavas stood around him for some time. And then the Kauravas, shaking their heads with tears and with disbelief and dismay, departed. The Pandavas departed, their hearts filled with mixed feelings of sorrow and joy. Sorrow that their grandfather had been felled, but joy that now they had attained a critical victory in the war. So Yudhishthira turned towards Krishna and said, okay, Krishna, for those who take shelter of you, nothing is impossible. It is only by your grace that we have been able to bring about the downfall of Bhishma. We are forever surrendered to you. So Krishna smiled and he told, such words could have fallen only from your lips, O Yudhishthira. You are such a virtuous king. And in this way both parties retreated. In the next morning early, before the war started, Karna went and met Bhishma. And Karna told Bhishma that he apologized to Bhishma. They had often hot words exchanged. And as Bhishma was lying there with closed eyes, the Kauravas had arranged that some people would be there to guard Bhishma, because the war field, often vultures and jackals and other animals would come on the war field, and Bhishma was lying right in the same war field. Some guards had been arranged to protect him, and Bhishma was lying there all alone, otherwise nobody talked. He went and he says, I am the son of Adhirath, Karna. I have come to offer my respects to you. Bhishma opened his eyes and he said, you are not the son of Adhirath. You are actually the son of the mighty sun god begotten through Kunti. Both Narada and Vyasa have told me this. And Karna nodded. He said, yes, I know, Kunti has told me this to me. He said, see, you do not deserve to fight and die. Fight on the side of Kauravas and die or die on the side of unrighteousness. Please cease the hostilities. You are the oldest of the Pandava brothers. Please go on this side and attain what was denied to you at the time of birth. So as Karna's expression hardened, Karna said, he did not reply. Bhishma said that, he said, you are in every way as powerful as Arjuna. These words gave great solace to Karna, because always Bhishma had derided him. He said, seeing that you were offensive towards the Pandavas for no reason at all, I tried to curb your pride so that there would not be any unnecessary confrontation between the two. He said, your birth was attended by sin, and that's why, due to no fault of yours, your mentality was twisted. So what was twisted from birth, I wanted to correct, and that's why I would chastise you. I know and respect your military prowess, but I only wanted to avoid an unnecessary confrontation, and that's why I spoke a harsh word that I spoke to you. But I am your well-wisher, Karna. And Karna, hearing these words, he had never expected such words to be spoken by Bhishma to him. He said, I beg forgiveness to you for whatever harsh words I have spoken. Karna had always respected Bhishma as a formidable warrior, although his advice and his words had been harsh at times. But he respected him as for his nobility and his heroism. And he said that Duryodhana has done so much for me. I cannot abandon him now. So please give me permission to enter the war. So Bhishma looked at Karna and saw that his face was set in grim lines. He says, if that is what you have decided to do, then I have my permission. Fix your mind on heaven, offer charity to the Brahmins, and fight to your fullest capacity. Actually, Bhishma tried his best. Even in the 10th day, 10th night, when he had fallen and Duryodhana had come in front of him in remorseful mood, even at that time, Bhishma, being a tireless well-wisher of his family members, he told them that, oh Duryodhana, you have seen what is the prowess of the Pandavas. Although I exerted myself to the fullest of my capacity, still I could not overcome the Pandavas. Let the hostilities end with my fall. Give the Pandavas the share of their kingdom and live in peace with them. Victory over them is impossible. Do not court destruction, O child. Bhishma spoke compassionately, even at that moment. Not feeling angry that he was in such terrible pain, not feeling angry that he was going to die, but even then considering, hoping, trying to persuade that Duryodhana would see sense. But Duryodhana absolutely refused. And Duryodhana said that, I cannot stop fighting, O grandsire. The war must go on. And so be it. Bhishma agreed reluctantly. And then the next morning, after Karna had departed, then the Pandavas and Kaurava warriors came to offer their respects. And as the Pandavas came there, Pandavas asked, can I do anything for you? So, I am feeling thirsty. So Duryodhana was, when he wanted to be, he could be a very diligent host. So he had already brought people with jugs of water and food. And he signaled them and they started rushing towards Bhishma. So Bhishma said, no, I have already passed from the world of human beings. I am here just to wait for the right moment for death. So I will not accept any of the delights that are accepted by human beings. Oh Arjuna, you know best how my thirst can be slaked. Arjuna looked at Bhishma and he understood. He circumambulated Bhishma and he took several arrows, invested them with mystic powers, chanted mantras, and shot the arrows right near Bhishma's head. And the arrows pierced into the earth. They went deep underwater, under the earth, and where there was water below the water table level, they pierced it. And as the arrows created a pathway, the water surged upwards. And that water came right through the earth, and crystal clear, shining, pure water came out from the earth's crust upwards, springing up, and in a shower it came and went right into the mouth of Bhishma. Bhishma opened his eyes. He saw his mother Ganga in that water. He offered her respects and drank that water. Seeing this extraordinary prowess of Arjuna, the Kshatriyas on the Kaurava side shuddered. On the Pandava side cheered. Bhishma drank the water to his heart's content, and he blessed he blessed Arjuna, and then the hostilities continued. So this was how Bhishma, such a gallant warrior, seeking the well-being of others, demonstrating to Duryodhana and his cahoots the prowess of Arjuna, he tried to do the good for everyone. And the supreme good he did, not just for the Pandavas, but for all of humanity, was what would happen at the end, after the war got over, when Bhishma gave extraordinary and exhaustive instructions called Raj Dharma. That we will discuss in our next session. Thank you. Hare Krishna.